what are the biggest changes that you see or at least foresee coming for educators in the next few years as the school choice movement kind of ramps up through other states and continues to grow?
I see educators in this alternative education space taking a good look at their communities, taking a good look at their specializations and what they're good at and what they feel they came to this world to do, and taking a good look at families within these communities and learners within these communities and saying, what is needed? What can I do in this alternative education space to support the community around me? And it takes me to this conversation I had with my mentor, who was telling me, he's the one who told me, hey, Step Up for Students is changing in Florida. They're going to be, signing this bill into effect on July 1st. That makes school choice universal. And you're going to see a ton of families taking advantage of this opportunity. And I said to him, very upset, I said, but what does that mean to, about public schools? I believe that public schools should exist. I, I'm worried about the consequences. And he said to me, although I understand where you're coming from, he said, you have to think about it in the sense that this grants families, students, and teachers the opportunities to go in and recognize where students are being left behind and how you can create unique learning experiences specifically for them in an alternative education space. Like, for example, my issue was that so many times coming from, a bilingual family, knowing that my husband would, him speaking Spanish and not being able to speak English very well, and having three children, if it weren't for me, who's so intimate with the education space, there would have been many times where he and his kids, therefore, in a traditional education space, kind of got left behind, whether it's because they didn't realize that it was parent teacher night, or that, literacy night is coming up, or can't understand, report cards. And I said to my mentor, my true heart leans into communities where language is an obstruction to understanding the school system, and they're not going to necessarily know that universal school choice exists or that they have other chances and other opportunities if their public school isn't giving them the support they need because their ESOL program is understaffed or whatever it is. And he stopped me and he said, Lexa, imagine this is what you're passionate about. You should be leading in your community the bilingual immersive school that they can't get in Pasco County, that, families who do speak English and Spanish can bring their kids to you for an immersive experience so that both English and Spanish can be highlighted and celebrated, and kids can learn how to speak and read and write fluently in both languages, and you are the person who should lead that. And in this new school environment, you can. And I said nothing. I was like, oh, okay. I understand why the school choice movement needs to be in the hands of educators like myself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've met a few teachers who have expressed interest in starting something on their own, and I think this conversation is so new that we didn't really get there. This is a very new kind of concept for teachers. I think, one of the conversations I've had with a teacher friend was that she wanted to start almost like a nature school or a farm led school. I think that is, a really amazing concept. I think, student learners love to be immersive in their learning, and there's room for improvement in the classroom. The classroom doesn't have to be cinder blocks and glass windows and formative desks, but it can be pigs and cows and farms and nature, and it can be something completely different. It can be a learning pod with, your closest neighbors who have a shared vision. I think there's so much room for individualized learning experiences that this new policy really, doesn't take away from public school, but adds to the depth of education and adds, profound options that are legitimate and have real backing to it instead of it being an odd, um, underfunded homeschool. It's a private practicing educational institution with a specific calling and a specific niche that serves a specific community, and it's allowed to exist because these funds are now universal.
Right, right. Yes. And my hope and my mission alongside you, brother, is that we ensure that we are uplifting children and equipping them with the tools, the knowledge, skills, the support to thrive, while we're also uplifting families. And that is especially vulnerable families, families because language is in obstruction to understanding their options or their opportunities. We are ensuring, and this goes back to our background, the underdog is always taken care of. And that is what my heart says. My heart says that we need to ensure that every single family has the opportunity to give their child what they need and when they need it, regardless of their income, regardless of their community or the neighborhood where they live, regardless of their zoned public school. And it takes education, and that's why we're doing what we're doing and working hard every day to educate families and kids and teachers
And give them the
and
choice.
each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just giving the choice. I think that's the most important piece of it all, regardless of political hotbeds and buzzwords and narratives that are skewed and altered in ways. I think the only word that matters is choice and the ability to take advantage of it or not to. And, I think educators deserve the opportunity to explore their careers in new, innovative ways.
Amen, brother.